Hey everybody, Timothy here with Mana Rocks, and we are going to play some standard best of one today with kind of a brew I've been working on, and I do want to hear feedback from people today. I'm kind of interested what you would do to change this deck. This is a little less refined than a lot of the other decks. You'll notice there's just a bunch of 1 and 2-ofs, but this is going to be a Sultai Undergrowth deck. Basically trying to fill up the graveyard and then win with Lotleth Giant or Izoni and a bunch of little insect tokens. So it's going to take a second to kind of explain the nuances of the deck. And honestly, I'm tweaking numbers. I'm trying out different cards. It started with kind of an idea, and I don't know really what other people have done with this archetype. It's not something I see come up too often, but I'm trying it out. I've had a lot of fun with it. It's interesting, maybe not the most competitive, but it has a lot of different play to it, and I think, maybe you'll find it a little interesting too, and maybe you can give me some feedback on what you would try. The deck started off with me just kind of experimenting with Prime Speaker Vannifar in Sultai and trying to go up a chain of Izoni into Lotleth Giant, trying to win the game with Lotleth Giant. And this is the main win con in the deck. For those of you who don't remember this mediocre draft card, it's a 7-mana 6/5, and when it enters the battlefield, your opponent takes a damage for each creature in your graveyard. So obviously you want to fill up the graveyard. You want probably around 10 to 15 creatures in the graveyard before a giant comes down, and hopefully that will finish up the game. And you can finish up the game with maybe a couple other cards. Your other main way to deal damage is Creep and Chill, which you'll just naturally mill through. There are Narcomoebas in this deck too, which we'll get to in a second, but anytime you're playing Creep and Chill and Narcomoeba, you just have to accept the fact that you're going to draw them in your opening hand, or you're just going to naturally draw into them, and they're going to be pretty bad. If you watched my Surveil video with a blue-black Surveil deck, I'm sure that came up where you just draw a Creep and Chill and you feel like your life is over. And, Creep and Chill is not a good card for 4 mana, but when you get to mill over it, and basically activate it for free. You don't cast it, but you get a free Creep and Chill or a free Narcomoeba. It feels pretty good. But anyway, let's go through all the cards real quick, and I'll try to keep this succinct, and then we'll play 4 or 5 rounds. Your 2 main early mill cards are Stitcher Supplier and Glowspore Shaman. Shaman also helps you just make sure you hit land drops early on, but these have mill 3 attached to them when they come into play, and then the Stitcher Supplier also mills 3 when it goes to the graveyard. So these kind of get the graveyard filled up pretty early, as well as Wand of Vertebrae, which I probably want more copies of this. I've been kind of impressed with what it does, and this is an instant speed mill, so you can get like an instant speed Narcomoeba or Creep and Chill to make your opponent have a bad attack or something like that. Doesn't come up too often, but it also has the second ability where you can exile it to shuffle 5 cards from your graveyard back into your library, and that actually comes up a decent number of times where you've already milled over your Lotleth Giants or some of your important cards, and you need access to them in the deck so that Prime Speaker Vannifar can fetch them up, or, something along those lines. You can draw into them or whatever. Plus, all the Creep and Chills you cast don't get exiled, so you can shuffle them back with the Wand. And the Wand just kind of gives you an out to make sure you still have your win cons in the deck when you Vannifar them. You'll notice there's only one Vannifar, so the deck's not super built around it, but it is kind of built around it. I probably want a second Vannifar, but I don't have another one online at the moment. 2 drops Narcomoeba, you're not looking to cast this, you're hoping to mill over it with one of the other mill cards, and then you just get a free attacker. Also, if you sack Narcomoeba to Vannifar and you got the Narcomoeba for free, it's almost like you got one of the 3 drops for free. There's a single Lazav. I've been kind of happy with this. A lot of times Lazav will just turn into like a Doom Whisperer that you milled over, or a Thief of Sanity, and people always forget that Lazav can turn into a creature. A lot of people will not pay attention to what's getting milled into your graveyard, so Lazav might surprise them. And it has the Surveil 1 attached to it when it enters the battlefield, which can pitch a pretty bad card on top, put a creature in the graveyard, mill a Creep and Chill, so on and so forth. Glowspore Shaman, pretty straightforward, same as Stitcher Supplier. I was trying out, Whisper Agent, the flash 3/2 that lets you surveil when it comes into play, and I was not really happy with it. So I went with Exclusion Mage here. I really want different creatures at each mana cost that Prime Speaker can fetch into, and Whisper Agent just was not making the cut even as a castable card. Exclusion Mage seems like it's going to be a lot better, even though I have not actually played with the Exclusion Mage yet. This is one of the ones I'm trying out. Thief of Sanity, You could build a whole deck around this card and try to protect it. It's insane when it goes unanswered, and it single-handedly wins games when it goes unanswered, but it's just another 3-drop that we can fetch into. Same with Chupacabra and Hostage Taker. I would probably play a split of 2 and 2 if I had another Hostage Taker online, but I don't feel like using one of my, wild cards here. Chupacabra, just a nice card to cast, helps you survive until you get to the late game. Also pretty decent to recur later on if you have a wand or something and you need to get a creature back. There are finds in the deck which can help you get back your Hostage Takers and Chupacabra. Hostage Taker is usually better than Chupacabra, but it does run the risk of giving them their card back if they kill it before you can cast it. And what I really like about Hostage Takers, if you have Prime Speaker and you get to untap, you play a 3-drop, you get to Prime Speaker the 3-drop into Hostage Taker without using any mana, and then you have your mana available to go ahead and cast the card. Hostage Taker can also take out artifacts, which people seem to forget about. Creep and Chill is actually super important in this deck. Again, you don't ever want to draw this card and cast it. It feels really bad when you have to do that, but that keeps you alive some amount of time, and sometimes you need 1 or 2 more turns. And it's a really nice combo with Doom Whisper, where you're going off with your Surveil, you're filling up your graveyard, you hit a couple Creep and Chills, and you get to Surveil a couple more times. Another card I'm trying out here, over the 3rd copy of Find Finality, is Kraul Foragers. I haven't played this one yet, but I found that the aggro decks were just crushing me, and I think Kraul Foragers, if this comes down and gains somewhere between 8 and 10 life, which it's routinely possible to have 8 to 10 to 15 creatures in your graveyard, then the Foragers seems like it'd be a nice addition. This would be in the sideboard, for sure, maybe 1 or 2 copies, but since I'm playing best of 1, I want it in the main board. Doesn't do me any good in the sideboard, just to try it out. We have a Discovery Dispersal, which can mill over cards. Dispersal comes up some amount of time as kind of a janky removal spell for expensive cards. Finality is the main sweeper of the deck, very expensive, but a lot of times you can position yourself to cast a Finality and then win the game from there. Hostage Taker, Prime Speaker, and Doom Whisperer all survive through Finality, as does Lazav. I've had it come up before where I Finality, put 2 counters on Lazav, and then I turn Lazav into like a Doom Whisperer and it still has the counters on it. Pretty nice little combo. Finality is one of the most important cards in the deck since it gives you leverage against those long games. And then there's 2 copies of Izoni, 2 copies of Lotleth Giant, which are the main finishers outside of Doom Whisperer. Izoni will oftentimes just come down, make a bunch of tokens. It also gives you 0 mana cost tokens, which can let you start a chain again with Vannifar. You can Izoni, or you can Prime Speaker an insect token, and then go find a Stitcher supplier, sack the supplier to get a Glowspore Shaman. By the time you're potting into Izoni or Lotleth Giant, you're close to winning the game or close to losing the game, so starting the chain all over again doesn't really happen. But being able to play a Foragers and then fetch up an Izoni, and then fetch up a Lotleth Giant is kind of the whole idea of the deck, right? Play Prime Speaker, which, again, there's 1 copy. This is less of a Prime Speaker deck and more of just an experiment in Undergrowth. But being able to, pod 5, 6, 7 can oftentimes win you the game. And Izoni is just a nice card to have in general when you don't cast it. And even when you do cast it, it can make a bunch of blockers to help you survive, give you a little bit of card advantage. No sideboard put together yet. My lands are pretty much put together, except for I only have 1 Woodland Cemetery, which we should probably get more of here. I might do that in between matches or whatever. And yeah, that is the deck. The numbers are kind of all over the place. Again, this is an experiment more than it is like a tune deck or some sort of deck list that you should copy. It's more like experiment with the cards, see which ones you like the most. Maybe the Thieves aren't what this deck wants, and you go up like Prime Speakers, or maybe Foragers just isn't necessary, and you play more of these interactive creatures like Chupacabra and Exclusion Mage. But the way I approach new brews is I like to play 2-ofs and 3-ofs of a lot of cards instead of 4-ofs. And whenever I draw a card, if it's just overperforming every single time I draw it or every time I play it, then that's when I adjust the numbers and put more of that card in. Like if I find out Izoni is just not really necessary for this deck, I cut that and I'll play maybe more Lazavs or more of the early game creatures. So that's up for you to decide, and feel free to tell me in the comments below what cards I'm missing here. Like, what would you play in this sort of deck? Maybe, we've got an update for you. Wonderful. Thanks for interrupting. But anyway, I know one thing this deck is very seriously missing is removal, which is why we're playing Chupacabras and Hostage Takers and Exclusion Mages. Those creatures really need to leverage us through the middle to late game. And I'm hoping they'll do that. So let's go and play some matches. Let's see if we get mana screwed or just get aggroed out here. But it should be fun. I don't expect this deck to like straight sweep opponents or anything. It's a little bit clunky, and it's got, you know, very few 4-ofs except for Glowspore Shaman and Creep and Chill. But those cards seem really important to have 4 of. So anyway, thanks for watching. This is Sultai Undergrowth deck. My name's Timothy here with Mana Rocks. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe below for more standard content, more more limited content, and of course find us on Twitter at mtg_manarocks, and let's talk about this deck. See you in match number 1. Alright, we're here for match 1. We can't actually cast our Glowspore Shaman, and we have a double black card and 3 blue-green lands. I'm not sure this hand cuts it. We're on the draw. If we draw a swamp, we're probably fine. We're not playing for prize here. I would mulligan this hand in like a competitive setting, but we do have the turn 1 wand, which is a nice card to have. And we'll see how it goes. Uh-oh, don't do that. Against a breed and pull deck. We never want to really draw the Lotleth Giants. They're kind of a liability to draw, but they're fine. Yeah, I guess I'm going to go ahead and play the wand here. My opponent might be playing a Nexus deck. Could be playing Sultai. Important to note, you often wait until your opponent's end step to wand, but a lot of times you will activate wand on your own turn if you're going to play an Undergrowth creature or pod into it. Doesn't look like a gate deck. Definitely looks like some sort of dumb Wilderness Reclamation deck, which I'm willing to just concede to if it gets going, because I have nothing going on. It's not a fun deck. I think Nexus is banned. Boom! Creep and Chill off the top. Feels good. Alright, oh, I've overgrown Tomb. Quite nice, quite nice. Well, we're going to go ahead and play Glowspore Shaman. And see what we mill there. Maybe a couple Narcs. Hostage Taker, Fine Finality, and Chupacabra. Alright, sure. Milled over 3 pretty good cards. Simic Ascendancy, okay. Well, this ought to be fun. Into Biomancer's Familiar, interesting. Well, we need to get some sort of real clock going. I'm definitely going to attack into Familiar. Alright, Hinterland Harbor. So this turn, we're not playing anything. We'll go ahead and attack first and play a Breed and Pull. I do feel, I think I mentioned this in a previous video, I think Arena has a way of kind of assessing the power level or the competitiveness of your deck, and it tries to pair you with people of equal competitiveness. I don't know how more elegantly to say that, but it does feel like I play against a few more gimmick decks. Like, I don't run into mono red and mono blue and Esper a lot when I'm playing the sort of deck I'm playing now. But if I do play like my Is It Control deck or something like that, it feels like I do draw a bit more. Herald of Secret Stream. So my opponent's just straight up on +1 counters, and they decide to ditch the Herald. Okay. This doesn't really do anything until they get to 20 counters. Does this only work for creatures? Yeah, so that doesn't quite work either. Let's go ahead and mill. Not that I'd block with a Narcomoeba here, but Izoni to the graveyard. Izoni to the hand. And we'll go ahead and play Prime Speaker, maybe into a counter spell. An Essence Capture or something. And I'm not going to attack here because I want to keep up Prime Speaker for Glowspore Shaman if I can. I'm expecting something like Galloping Lizrog from our opponent, because that's one of the ways that you build around Simic Ascendancy. But we'll see. Okay, so Herald of Secret Streams makes it so creatures with +1 counters can't be blocked, which is kind of cool with the Simic Ascendancy. As long as our opponent doesn't gain life, we're not too worried about it unless they clock us super hard. Another Familiar doesn't really do much either. It's just basically vanilla 2/2 until they draw an adapt creature. Oh, they didn't attack? They don't know what their Herald does? Alright, let's go ahead and mill ourselves. And see what's coming up. Lotleth Giant to the graveyard. I like this. This is a nice little touch here. This has been here since the set came out, since Guilds of Ravnica came out, but it'll tell you how many creatures you have. If you have an Overgrowth or Undergrowth card, it'll tell you right here how many creatures are already in your graveyard. So we can Prime Speaker into Thief of Sanity or What's it called? Exclusion Mage. We do not, however, have another black source, which is awkward. We've drawn a lot of Hinterland Harbors. And then Thief of Sanity can go into like Chupacabra. Maybe I just Exclusion Mage for Jadelight or bounce Jadelight Ranger. But then they get to attack with a bunch of stuff. I think that's fine. Maybe I go for Thief of Sanity. We still have 3 Creep and Chills in our deck. We haven't hit any Narcomoebas either. Pretty sure none of them have been milled. Alright, so Thief or Exclusion Mage. Thief is clearly better next turn. We're probably going to sacrifice whatever we get here, so I think I'm going to go Exclusion Mage. Bounce probably just the Herald because it uses the most of their mana. And not much else I can do this turn. I can activate Wand, but that doesn't really do much at the moment. And then the plan, without our opponent disrupting us too much, is to go ahead and Exclusion Mage, or sack Exclusion Mage to Prime Speaker and get something like Hostage Taker, and just use one of their cards against us. Alright, I like them going on the grow their creature plan, since we're planning on dealing with that next turn. Means they're not recasting this Herald, they want to either hold up mana or do something else. They're also not offering trades with these Biomancer's Familiars. Alright. Normally activate Wand before blocks, unless I expect a sweeper. Just in case you hit a Narcomoeba, you might want to chump with it. Yeah, our opponent feels like they're holding up counter magic. Creep and Chill off the top. Nice. We haven't drawn one yet. That's 2-0 for the Creep and Chill. The extra life gain you get from just random Creep and Chills is nice. Alright, so what's the deal here? Our opponent feels like they have counter magic up, although they might just be holding up the Ascendancy. I think we go ahead and sack Exclusion Mage now and just get Hostage Taker. Do we have a creature that comes down and blows up artifacts and enchantments? I don't know if we do. Oh, we milled over Hostage Taker. Alright, Chupacabra it is. I guess that's important to keep track of. Yeah, let's just go ahead and eat Jadelight Ranger here, and then we could play an Exclusion Mage from our hand. Just bounce a Familiar. Seems okay. They're going to put a counter on their Familiar here, end of turn. Let's see if they have a counter spell. Sinister Sabotage. I was expecting Essence Capture, but I think that's okay. And I can afford to take some damage because we plan on potting into probably Corral Foragers next turn. It's a little awkward. I drew one Izoni and milled the other Izoni, so I can't go a 5 into a 6. But if I ever draw another black source, I can just cast Izoni. Alright, here comes the Herald. Plus Llanowar Elves. A little bit late on that one. It says how many counters? 2. Yeah, we're not going to die to that this game, or at least I don't think we are. They are not attacking with these Familiars. Alright, activate Wand. Mill. Come on, hit a Narcomoeba. Dispersal, sure. And then draw a Narcomoeba. That's a frustrating thing about playing Narcomoeba in your deck, is when you mill, and then you draw the Narcomoeba. Alright, let's go ahead and get Corral Forager, I suppose. We could also play Narcomoeba and then just get Thief of Sanity. And then just start hitting them with that. It feels like our opponent is going to go put a counter on 2 creatures and attack us with some unblockable creatures next turn. Note that at any point we could go ahead and wand back some of the creatures into our deck so that we can set up Prime Speaker if we really want to. Yeah, let's get a Thief of Sanity here. Very awkward we have not drawn another black source. I did not put those Woodwind Cemeteries in, but I'd still be playing all these lands, so it's not really that fault. Go and hold back at Chupacabra, since, you know, attacking into a 2-3 with a 2-2 is not ideal. 8 creatures in the graveyard. Growth Spiral, sure. Just cycling. Llanowar Elves, sure. Mismatching Llanowar Elves. Disappoints me. And then put a counter on a Familiar and attack for 3. Sure. Probably should put the counter on the Herald. Since there's a chance you want to activate these. No attack? Or is that right? No, they're definitely attacking, right? 3/3 coming in. Well, we're winning this game due to our opponent not trying to pressure us very much. Mill Watery Grave to the graveyard. Ooh, Stitcher Supplier. So let's go ahead and attack with Thief of Sanity first, just to get more information about what we're going to do this turn. Shaboom. Looks like Arena's running a little slow. I might close some other programs. Oh, Biogenic Upgrade. Wowza, that's actually really sweet. So let's go Stitcher Supplier and then Vanifar into... Actually, let's go ahead and do this now just so we don't mill over the Crow Forger. We could get Doom Whisperer here and just wrap this game up. The Crow Forger can't attack, so let's get Doom Whisperer. We have one more unless we milled over that too and I missed it. And then we can Doom Whisperer for our next land. What was that? Creep and Chill on top. Go ahead and play Stitcher Supplier. Is there a Creep and Chill on top? No, there wasn't. Alright, milled some more creatures. And we'll just pass the turn here. And our opponent's super dead to basically what we already have, but also Biogenic Upgrade. Just adds more counters. I mean, they could have like a Biogenic Upgrade of their own. That's 6. They can make another creature unblockable here and 9 me. And then they just die to Doom Whisperer. Alright, attack, attack, attack. So it looks like my opponent's more of a Herald deck. Alright, just attack for 3. Go and activate. Go and activate. These can go to the graveyard. We'll just go ahead and take our 3 now. That way we're not playing into a pump spell or something. Opponent has 1 mana up, not too worried about it. I guess I can just leave a swamp on top at this point, or I can leave any basic on top and just cast a Lotleth Giant. Yeah, that's fine. Lotleth Giant single black. So we'll just cast that and dome our opponent for, I can't tell, however much this is. Alright, shaboom. Good game. I can't tell how many creatures are in my graveyard because of this stupid double face card. Looked like there were 12. Alright, well, we took a game. Again, we're not playing against super competitive decks, or at least that one I don't think was, and I'm not sure my opponent played super smoothly there, but we could have gotten Crow Forgers that game to stay alive, which is boding well for that card. Practice match. There's some new stuff on Arena that I haven't really messed around with, but we'll play another game and see you in match number 2. Alright, these are the hands you sign up for when you play this game. Narcomoeba and Creep and Chill in the opening hand. We do have more black mana than we had the entire last game. And Johnny's Welcome decks I usually feel fine about. It's usually a race to get to finality before they can get a gigantic whatchamacallit down. And by whatchamacallit I mean, what's that card called? A Johnny's Pride Mate. I'm going to go ahead and, I'll play my wand and pass, go and get that going. And then turn 2 we can go and Glowspore Shaman. So when they go a Johnny's Welcome into Pride Mate, that's usually good news for them. They always have it too. So this is going to be a huge Pride Mate. And it'll probably be out of range of -4/-4 by the time we get to finality. So we're going to be in a little bit of trouble, but that's why we have Chupacabras and whatnot in our deck. Hostage Takers, Glowspore Shamans. Oh, look, Hostage Taker. So draw another land and survive until we get to that point. Go and play Glowspore Shaman here. This, I mean, all they have to do is play a creature, and their Johnny's Pride Mate is already huge. Alright, give me some Narcs. I don't mind getting rid of those cards. Do I want to put the 4th land on top right now? Probably not, because I'm going to wand. I probably should have wanded first if I was going to do that. I do want to guarantee that I have the 4th land, and I'm going to probably play just like a Narcomoeba next turn, so yeah. I will draw the 4th land and just not wand this turn, which is pretty bad. I should have activated wand. I always forget that this even puts a land on top. Alright, let's see what's next. So the goal, Hostage Taker should take care of a Giant Pridemate. Danitha. Okay. It's a 4/4 Pridemate. Not quite at the point where I want to chump block it yet. I save more damage if I chump block it later on down the line. Also, I can just play a Narcomoeba and chump with Narcomoeba. Narc's not that important. Danitha will hopefully die to Finality later on down the line. Let's go and play a Watery Grave tapped, play a Narcomoeba, which always feels bad, and pass. Can't really attack here. Danitha has first strike. My opponent's probably some sort of Aura equipment deck. Maybe like the Precon that has like the Knight's Valors and is going for a cheese win. Alright. Lots of life gain from the opponent. I'm fine with them playing these though. Vanguard. More things that die to Finality as long as I don't die before then. This is going up to 5, 6, 7. They're kind of all in on this Pridemate, though. I guess they have Danitha as well, but I'm going to Hostage Taker this Pridemate. I guess they could have an answer to Hostage Taker. Alright, Danitha coming in. Exclusion Mage also would have been a decent draw. Yeah, let's go ahead and block 7 damage here. It goes up to 8. Oh, first strike. Nasty. First strike, lifelink. Bit of a combo. Alright, let's go ahead and Hostage Taker this bad boy. Even if they have a Conclave Tribunal or something like that, we get to at least reset the Pridemate. I'm gonna pass because of first strike. Still, trying to get to the point where we can just cast Finality, sweep the opponent's board. And if they don't kill Hostage Taker, I'm just going to cast their Pridemate and block with it at some point. They attack with Danitha. Oh, alright. Well, we are stable. Opponent seems to have run out of creatures to play. Doom Whisperer. I'm going to cast their Pridemate over playing Doom Whisperer. And then with the Pridemate, I could attack with Hostage Taker. Kind of fine with it dying, since it's going to get swept. Maybe it won't get swept, though. Because Finality, all of my other creatures die to that currently. No, let's not die. Let's not throw a Hostage Taker in there. Opponent at 27. Usually doesn't matter how much life the opponent gains. You don't win often by just going for combat damage. You win with gigantic whatchamacallits. I'm going to hold off on Finality as much as I can. Is Danitha? Danitha's a knight, correct? Yeah. So I would love to get to next turn and then sweep the other token as well. I also don't currently have the 6th land. Doom Whisperer can change that, though. Alright, opponent says hold on. No attacks. Wow, my system is running really slow. Alright, draw the Drowned Catacomb. So we do have the other land, but I'm going to wait a turn on it. I'm just going to cast Doom Whisperer here, play the Drowned Catacomb, and pass. That way I get the other token out of this history as well. Opponent going up to approximately 1,000,000 life, but Doom Whisperer hits very hard, especially when it's an 8/8. Granted, it won't be hitting for that much next turn because it'll get -4, but actually, probably only attacking for 2 because I'm going to put the counters on Hostage Taker, I think. Maybe not. Maybe I just pile them all on Doom Whisperer and I let Hostage Taker die. More creatures in the graveyard. I guess it doesn't show you your Undergrowth count unless you currently have an Undergrowth creature on board or in your hand. Yep. Alright, let's go ahead and wand. Wand of Gamelon. Mill, sure. Lands, don't care about. Creep and Chill. Alright, let's go and cast Finality. And put the counters on... Yeah, probably just Doom Whisper. Maybe that's a little bit all in eggs in one basket type thing. Hostage Taker being a 4/5 would let me keep attacking. Okay, well, that's unfortunate, opponent, that they don't know how that works. Playing against someone new, I think their guy still dies through Unbreakable Formation, and might as well attack for measly 2 damage. Attack with the Hostage Taker too. Alright, and History goes off without doing anything here, and we've got 10 damage on board a turn. We're going to be able to crawl through our opponent's 35 life pretty easy, I think. We cast Creep and Chills as well. What if they just play like Citywide Bust? That'd be pretty gross. Goro. Goro's a Mortal Kombat character, right? I play other games? Question mark. No, opponent. No, that doesn't do anything. Shuffle my library. Oh god, that's so bad. My creatures aren't. Oh, I'm clearly playing against like maybe a very new player, right? Okay. Well, sorry, Goro. Sorry. You do kind of get the plan of our deck though with a matchup like this. You want to survive until you can sweep with Finality and then just win with a big creature. Doom Whisper tends to be just really good against like mono black and not mono black, mono red, mono white, maybe even mono blue if you can resolve it. All right, another match coming up. All right, next matchup we have a sweet little hand here. It's got a lot of mill action going on, not a lot of action in the actual hand, but we get to see the Lazav here. Ooh, our opponent's got like those new sleeves or whatever. New skins for your deck. Kind of cool. Shock for the Hallowed Fountain. Interesting. And draw the stupid Narcomoeba. All right, let's go and play our wand. If I had... They're going to opt, I guess. If I had the choice between playing wand or... Yes, resolve. That's why I'm auto-passing. If I had the choice between playing Wand or Stitcher Supplier, I'd run out the Supplier because it might get in a damage or two. And that could be the difference between, you know, winning or losing with a Lotleth Giant the turn you really need to play it. Alright, so we can play Drowned Catacomb here and Lazav. Fine. Against Esper. Not Esper, Jeskai. Surveil, Lotleth Giant. We don't want to draw that, so we'll go ahead and put it in the graveyard. And we have a Find in our hand, which is fine. We have a Find in case we need to get it back at some point. I think we do fine against creature decks. We are pretty poor against decks that have a lot of counter spells and whatnot. Is this main phase? No. Alright, so upkeep. Treasure map, sure. Yep. Go ahead and wand. Chupacabra to the graveyard. I don't think Chupacabra is going to be super good here. And draw the Creep and Chill. All right, that's happened twice now. Let's go ahead and I guess we could shock. Just play a Stitcher Supplier. Maybe attack first. Yeah, I'll just attack here. I'm not worried about my opponent too much. Not yet. If we think they're going to cast like Niv Mizzet or something, then we can preemptively get this Ravenous Chupacabra back. But I think I'm just going to play a Stitcher Supplier here. And then a tapped Overgrown Tomb. Hostage Taker, Glowspore Shaman. I actually don't even care if they sweep my board either, so... Alright, I'll play another Stitcher Supplier. They've seen the Lotleth Giant already. Or wait, yeah, we did mill it. Alright, there's a Corral Foragers. No luck on the creep and chills this game. Revitalize, sure. So jank, jank. Could see a Crackling Drake or something along those lines, which would be bad because we don't have land drops and can't rely too much on bringing back a Chupacabra. They see it if we play it, and then they hold up some counter magic. Let's see if they have like a Deafening Clarion, which wouldn't be that bad. Tormented Voice, so this is a Phoenix deck, presumably. What do they discard? Chemister's Insight, sure. They gained 3 off that Revitalize, so they're still at 20 here. And again, every little chip damage counts for some amount. We drew Watery Grave. Okay, I'll just cast a Creep and Chill this turn. Or is there anything worth turning whatchamacallit into? If I had a Thief of Sanity in my graveyard, I would probably just turn Lazav into Thief of Sanity, but I don't. So we will go attacking for 3. And yeah, I guess I'll just shock and play Creep and Chill here. And we'll pass turn. Sure. Alright, so flipping the treasure map. Pretty good. Flipping the treasure map. The Niv Mizzet would be pretty difficult for me to beat. Smother and Tithe. Alright, so this is some sort of Banefire deck or Emergency Powers deck or something along those lines. Which is bad news for me. Emergency Powers shuffles the graveyard back in... which is not where we want to be. So maybe this is the turn to cast Fine, just to make sure I have at least the Lotleth Giant in my hand. So what am I going to do? I will actually pay 2 and then cast Fine this turn. Although Lotleth Giant doesn't really matter if they shuffle. Sure. Let's go ahead and resolve that. I will pay 2. They could still have counter magic up for what it's worth. And then we'll go ahead and cast Fine now. Let's get Lotleth Giant and probably just Hostage Taker. And we'll pass. So I think what my opponent's playing here is to use emergency powers. Anytime you play Smother and Tithe, you gotta figure they have emergency powers to draw into a new hand, get a bunch of mana, and then kill you with whatever they draw into. Definitely feels like that's probably the plan. They also have the treasure map going with the treasure tokens. It's kind of gross when you think about it. Do not feel like we're going to win this game with how many cards my opponent has and the game plan I assume they have. Just going to pass. This feels like a possible emergency powers. Maybe go to second main, sure. Sure thing. Okay. I guess they could also be using Smother and Tithe to just draw extra cards. It's not a terrible idea, right? Okay, another Smother and Tithe. So we're just never paying for treasure at this point. Just kind of want to rattle off a bunch of Creep and Chills here. There's one. Note that Creep and Chills don't get cast, so your opponent can't counter them. And they also get exiled, so they don't get shuffled back if your opponent shuffles them back. I guess Settle the Wreckage is a card our opponent could have. Let's just... We're not paying for any of this nonsense. I might even just cast an Archamoeba here. I guess we could probably pay for 1. Alright, attack. We might just make Lazav a 4/4 and make him do something about it. I mean, what could they have? Settle the Wreckage. And they're going to Chemister's Insight here? Ah, they do have Settle the Wreckage. Okay. Sure. I think this is fine, actually. This means I can cast Lotleth Giant next turn if they don't eat my graveyard. So 1, 2, 3. And then what do I could play Hostage Taker and eat a treasure, which doesn't exactly sound great. But it's 1 less mana they have next turn, 1 less card. It's almost like making our opponent discard a card. I have the Ravenous Chupacabra as backup. They didn't take any damage that turn, though. God, these split cards make it so annoying to... I guess we have to count for ourselves. Alright, opponent, go ahead. So we have... Oh my gosh. 1, 2, 3. We only have 3 creatures in the graveyard. Opponent is drawing their last card with the treasure, which is kind of cool. It's weird to play Settle the Wreckage and also Smother and Tithe in the same deck. I get it, but like you give your opponent a bunch of mana that they can pay for your Smother and Tithes. Granted, we're probably still not paying for most of it. Alright, another treasure map. Interesting. I'm intrigued. Go ahead and wand. At this point, I wouldn't mind hitting Narcomoebas, just pressure the opponent a little bit more. Ooh, Prime Speaker. Alright, resolve all. I'm just going to pay 4. I'm not casting the rest of my hand anyway. Let's go ahead and attack. Do our measly 2 damage. Maybe. If they want to settle us again, I'm cool with it. And I could cast Prime Speaker, just make him use a card here. Yeah, Prime Speaker coming down. Go ahead and counter it if they want to counter it. No. Alright, maybe we're going to see Chemister's Insight then. Thing is, if I get to untap with Prime Speaker and get Doom Whisperer, then Doom Whisperer has a pretty good chance of just finding some more Creeping Chills. We've got 2 left, right? 2 in the deck. And a lot of life to play around with. We can surveil 16 cards from our deck, right? We can activate it. Yeah, if we get Doom Whisperer while we're at 20, we can activate it 9 times, which is 18 cards from the deck. Potentially more if we hit a Creep and Chill within the first 8 activations. And all we need here is 2 Creep and Chills. Another treasure map. Alright, sure. I'm willing to bet my opponent's win con is like Niv Mizzet or Banefire. Let's go ahead and mill ourselves. We hit another Creep and Chill, so opponent goes to 3. They could have Revitalizes and whatnot. Sure. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to pay for one of these, not for the other one. The plan is to attack and see if we kill them, and if not, they have to use some mana. And then maybe we can just play Lotleth Giant to deal the rest of the damage here. I'm going to attack with both because it is a lethal attack. If they have to settle, that leaves them with just 1 mana up. And then we cast the Lotleth Giant. Sure. So they settle the Wreckage, we play our land and cast the Lotleth Giant. And I believe we have 3 in the graveyard. Yeah, might as well. Could be forgetting about something. Let's just go ahead and mill ourselves for 1 just in case. Also, we might just hit the last Creep and Chill. Nope. Okay. Play Woodland Cemetery and cast a Lotleth Giant. Nice. Alright, Lotleth Giant wraps it up. Undergrowth count 3. But we cast a total of 3 Creep and Chills that game. Kind of getting the idea of it, right? Haven't played against any super competitive decks. Kind of weird to... I'm not sure what my opponent was doing, but again, Smother and Tithe really leads me to believe that you're doing some nonsense with emergency powers. Maybe Omniscience, who knows? We didn't really see a win con there, but let's play a couple more matches. Round 4 coming up here in just a second. Hey, no Narcomoebas in our opening hand, and we don't have to shock ourselves early on. Let's go. Seems like a decent hand. The Glowspore Shamans really are kind of like the backbone of the early game. That's why I'm playing 4 of them. But it feels good to have the Glowspore Shaman. It doesn't matter what shock we play here. We're going to play Woodwind Cemetery on turn 2. So let's just lead off with a Breeding Pool. Either way, we'd have all 3 colors on turn 2. As long as we have green and black on turn 2, doesn't matter. Playing against Boros Raptor Hatchling. Raptor Hatchling. This is the one whenever it takes damage, it turns into a 3/3, or you make a 3/3, I should say. Go and place Glowspore Shaman. Milling, nothing. I do not want that land. And they can attack right through me with this Raptor Hatchling. I will not block. Probably end up playing Narcomoeba, trading it for Hatchling. Yeah, opponent's some sort of enraged deck. This is why I like playing best of 1. You do get, well, the competitive, I guess the low tier best of 1, whatever this is called, you get to see some interesting decks from people, kind of decks that people have brewed up. You don't play against the same thing over and over and over again like you do when you're playing best of 3, which is, you know, what I sometimes play when I'm just playing by myself. But when I'm recording, I like to do this. You get to see a wide variety of cards. Competition, I guess, is a little bit less stiff. Which might not be a good thing in a lot of people's eyes, but I'm okay with it. This thing gets 2 counters whenever it takes damage, so that could be pretty nasty pretty fast. I'm assuming my opponent's playing, you know, Shake the Foundations or some sort of nonsense. Savage Stomp is a card you would play in a dinosaur deck. Kinjali Suncaller, your dinosaurs cost 1 less to cast. And no attack still. No attacks. Expecting some sort of setup here. I'll just go ahead and cast a Creep and Chill. Seems fine. Attack with my Narcomoeba as well. The early chip damage really does matter. I know I said during the mono white game where our opponent gained 1,000,000 life that the opponent's life total doesn't matter too much. It's worth getting in damage when you can, but the point was you can kill an opponent from a really high life total. With, you know, Lotleth Giant, it just deals so much damage. Alright, I'm ready for whatever nonsense comes up. There's that dumb Lotleth Giant again. Let's go ahead and play Doom Whisperer. Guess I should have done this post-combat. Whatever. Go ahead and attack. Play a Doomy Boy. Let's see if our opponent has removal for that. And we'll probably just dig for a 6 land. Rhythm of the Wild. Seems a little late, but we could... Our opponent could have like a Tally or something like that, which would be really sweet. Alright, let's dig for stuff. Maybe mill some Narcs. Prime Speaker I don't really want. Izoni. I don't think I have that many creatures in the graveyard. I have exactly 0. So I guess we start filling up the graveyard, and then we might Finality, and that'll just put us in a great position here. In fact, we don't even have to fill up the graveyard now. Let's just activate one more time. I think Doom Whisperer is just going to win this game. We'll leave a basic on top. Alright, opponent's seen enough, I guess. Fair enough. This is a real lesson in why Doom Whisperer and Fine Finality are good decks, but we did get to see Prime Speaker go off early on. Anyway, we'll play, I guess, at least one more match, maybe another one, and see how it goes. I guess this is match 5 coming up. See you there. Three, two, one. Alright, we're back for, I guess this is match 5. We have the Shaman and the Prime Speaker, which is nice. Something to do on turn 3 would be really sweet, especially against our red-white deck. Let's go Watery Grave. We're going to Hinterland Harbor on turn 2. First couple games, we had the turn 1 wand. This time we do not. Relentless Raptor, another dino. This one has to attack our block if able. Drew a Swamp, play a Glowspore Shaman, which can block a Relentless Raptor. 2 creatures to the graveyard. I do not want that land. If we feel we really need blockers next turn, we could blow a Fine to get these 2 creatures back and play Stitcher's Supplier. Glass of the Guild Pact, awesome. Well, I don't think we're just chumping. This thing has Vigilance. It has to block if able, which is not negligible. We just cast a Stitcher's Supplier this turn, because we'll take 2 creatures out of our graveyard, which will leave us at 0, but we play Supplier and then chump, and that puts 6 cards in our graveyard. I think that's fine. So how do we do that? I guess we just cast Fine, play Swamp. This deck's normally fine with chumping too if you're not dying. Finality seems fine here, but I don't know how it's going to do against Glass of the Guild Pact. If my opponent just plays another one, Finality won't kill their guys. Let's go basic Swamp, Stitcher Supplier. Hitting some Narcomoebas would be sweet. Thief of Sanity to the GY. Also, I could just present a double block on this Relentless Raptor. Hero Precinct 1, okay. I've never seen Relentless Raptor with Glass of the Guild Pact. There could be something there. This has to attack. I'm probably just going to double block. They could have some sort of trick, but that's fine. Or maybe, yeah, I guess I'm just double blocking, because I probably want to play Prime Speaker next turn. Make him use a trick here. What could they have that's red-white? I mean, a number of cards. They could have either of the red-white split cards, Integrity, Intervention, or whatever it's called. Yeah, they do. Look at that. Alright, well, at least that's not dealing extra damage to me. Alright, Supplier, Creep and Chill, and another Fine Finality. Keep our life total high here. Woodland Cemetery's fine. That lets me play Prime Speaker. Yeah, so if Prime Speaker resolves, we should have a really good turn next turn because we can play Foragers and then immediately sack Foragers and get Izoni. And that'll gain us some life, plus make some blockers. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 creatures in the graveyard. We'll have 5 when we Izoni. There's no way I'm blocking any of this. They could just have another Integrity or Intervention in hand to kill Prime Speaker. Another Relentless Raptor. This is kind of nasty. We are getting killed here. Into Boros Challenger. Okay. Yeah, we're probably actually just gonna die. Narcomoeba. Draw the Narcomoeba, sure. Alright, let's play Crow Foragers. Gain some life. Sack Foragers. Note Prime Speaker sorcery speed only. Get Izoni. Izoni should make 5 tokens here. And we pass. So we probably end up blocking 3 creatures and then take the rest. Izoni can go ahead and jump in front of a 1/1. I guess if they have Integrity Intervention, that's not even that bad. Yeah, Izoni can go ahead and block here. Whatever they have, it's fine. Block. Block. And I can afford to take 3, 4, 5. Yeah, this is fine. Let's see if they end up pumping this little token, which is what it feels like. I think we're going to lose this one. Turns out Finality would have been pretty good to keep in our hand. Okay, response. Yeah, we're so dead. Lotleth Giant's not going to do it, and we lost our 6-drop there, so we can't even fetch into it. Plus another Relentless Raptor. Alright, opponent's got creatures for days. And that's not going to do it, so we'll give our opponent the GG, and we lose a match. Oh no. Interesting deck there. They had the spells to back up their start, and we discarded a Finality. Or, well, we didn't discard it, we cast it, but I think our plan was fine. What are we going to not block with the Izoni there? Getting a Lotleth Giant wouldn't have changed that game. Let's go and play one more for posture's sake, and we'll call it a video after that. We'll call it a wrap. See you in match 6. It has a decent mix of land and spells. We have Discovery to kind of dig for maybe more lands to cast these cards. And we have the turn 2 Glowspore Shaman. We're against Call Me Tim, which, you know, is what I call myself. So there's that, I guess. Oh, there's supposed to be new avatars now, aren't there? Mine just randomly cycles through all of them for some reason. I guess I put some sort of setting on that does that. Alright, Glowspore Shaman. Last match. Hit some narcs. Hit 3 narcs. 1, 2, 3. Glowspore Shaman to the graveyard. I drew Breeding Pool. Do I want to bank on Discovery hitting another black source, or do I just want to draw the Drowned Catacomb? I don't want to draw that. I'm going to decline. Do not want to play against any deck that starts off with Hallowed Fountain. Steam Vents as well. Does look like we're going to get in 3 damage here, and Hostage Shaker could be a good card to just have in my hand. I'm going to cast Discovery this turn. Pretty straightforward turn. Not straightforward what I'm going to do, but I'll put a black source in my hand if I draw one. Ooh, Thief of Sanity plus Watery Grave. Doesn't matter what order I draw these in. I do want to draw both of them, though. And get that down and pass the turn. Our hand's pretty good against a deck that might be running like Crackling Drakes, Niv Mizzet, stuff like that. It's probably pretty bad against any like super out there control deck. And I've already presented, you know, a clock if my opponent just wants to sit around and do nothing. Seems unlikely. Yep, straight up Jeskai. Probably getting shocked. Oh, Lava Coil. That's annoying. Doesn't go to the graveyard. Go and cast this Thief and just make them answer it right away, which they will. They've got answers. And then next turn we'll play Doom Whisper. They basically can't let Thief ever hit them. Oh, they had to use a whole Deafening Clarion for that. That feels fine. Yeah, this is a deck that's trying to win with Niv Mizzet for sure. Let's go ahead and play Doom Whisper. That one's going to be a little bit harder for them to take out. You know, they might have to 2-for-1 themselves. Or play like a Exile effect like Ixalan's Binding or something like that. Shimmer of Possibility, huh? Yeah. Definitely a Niv Mizzet or Terramander deck. Crackling Drake deck. Oh, double? Sure. So they're going to dig super hard here, which means they're going to take 6 off this Doom Whisper. And I might be able to just kill them if I can do enough Creep and Chills and Narcomoebas here. So no Undergrowth necessary for this game. They're going to be at 11 from just the attack. Every Narcomoeba adds a damage, and every Creep and Chill we hit adds 3 more damage. I guess they could have like a shock. We're going to do a bunch of Surveillant on end step. Not too much because they do have Burn in their deck. But we're trying to hit some Creep and Chills and Narcomoebas, which we did in fact hit. Also trying to set up our top card to be something relevant. Whatever that may be. Maybe a Lotleth Giant. Another Narcomoeba, yes. Yes, Doom Whisperer. We really want the Creep and Chills, but the Narcomoebas help. So we have 8 damage on board. The Creep and Chill, and I guess we'll just draw Lotleth Giant, right? We can draw it, and then our opponent still has to answer Doom Whisperer. Yeah, this is fantastic. So we'll stop there. We could keep going. We could probably get to the point where we just win, but having the Lotleth Giant seems great. They're going to go down to 6 this turn. And if they do anything, we'll go ahead and Doom Whisper a bunch in response and put ourselves in a position where Lotleth Giant will win the game. Or at least surveil until we hit a land on top, basically, so we can cast Giant. But let's see what their big play is. Niv Mizzet doesn't quite cut it. Alright, well, Doom Whisper just wins the game by itself, I guess. 6/6 flyer resolved, and they didn't have enough burn to kill it. So kind of a weird way to go out, but you get the gist of the deck. It's part just like blue-black mid-range late game stuff. What in the world? This card's still standard legal. All right. Yeah, part just like blue-black mid-range, part Undergrowth. It has some cool things going for it. It does have the awkwardness of, the creeping, chill, and Narcomoebas getting stuck in your hand and being just really bad cards to cast. Probably going to go up on Prime Speakers here because that is kind of the crux of the deck, and having one is not fantastic. But, just solidifying the game plan, right? Is there a better 6-drop than Izoni for me to be playing? Possibly. I might not think of one. Should I be playing like Plaguecrafter or something instead of Exclusion Mage? I have no idea. Didn't really see Exclusion Mage do very much. Or Thief, but Thief never actually does anything. It just trades for your opponent's removal spell. Hostage Taker, Ravenous Chupacabra. Once you do get the Vannifar chain going, and you can just play a card and pot into, something a little bit more utility-wise, something useful, it does feel really good, right? I have had games where you go, 3-drop into Chupacabra, and then next turn you go into like a Doom Whisperer, hit him for 6, and then go into a Izoni, and then go into Lotleth Giant. And it's really fun. I do want to make this deck a little bit more tight, right? A little bit less of like the 2-ofs and everything. I should probably mention the reason there are 2 of a lot of these cards is in case you do mill over 1. You'll usually have another copy in your deck for the Prime Speaker, but if Prime Speaker is not an important part of the deck, then you don't really need to worry about having the second copies, right? They're there because you're often going to mill over the first copy. But again, the wand helps you deal with that, right? The wand makes it so that you can just shuffle the cards you need back into your deck, and they'll be available for Prime Speaker. I think you can go down Lazav here and up one of these. These seem really important, especially the wand. It's just a lot of advantage over the course of the game. You can probably cut the Thieves. They're a good little value card, just great in basically any Dimir deck, and, it's a plan in a can. If your opponent doesn't deal with it, it wins the game, but they don't really fit the theme of the deck here. Maybe there's a better 3-drop that can help us fill up our graveyard that I just haven't really experimented with or not thinking about. I kind of threw the deck together, adjusted some things, played some games, adjusted it a little bit more. But yeah, I don't think the Thief is exactly what this deck wants. You want creatures with immediate value or value when they go to the graveyard. So not 100% sure what that be. Maybe a creature that just comes in and draws a card. Like, is there not like a Generous Stray? Maybe something a little bit better than that, but we'll see. Let me know in the comments below what suggestions you have. What are the good creatures to start like a Sultai Vannifar chain that leads up to like Izoni and Lotleth Giant? And is there something better than Lotleth Giant? Is there an 8-drop I'm not thinking about? Like, not Molder Hulk, that's 9, right? I don't know, there might be like some good 8-drop I'm just not thinking of that, chains from Lotleth Giant into that. But anyway, that's the deck. That's Sultai Undergrowth. Played 6 games, lost 1 of them. Again, not against competitive decks, but we're not playing a competitive deck ourselves, so I think that's fine. And the whole experiment here is just to kind of give you an idea of what the deck's doing and, kind of show you how it's played and how I have built it. So I hope this has been entertaining. My name is Timothy here with Mana Rocks. Feel free to subscribe below and find us on Twitter at MTG_Mana Rocks. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.